We're going to start again about the GINA guidelines about the asthma, and there has been a paradigm shift, a sea change in the GINA guidelines for asthma. So I'm going to start first of all with the most important, the full form of GINA, and that is Global Initiative for Asthma. And it was launched in May 2026. It was established to increase the awareness about asthma among the healthcare providers, public health authorities and communities, to improve the medical care for people with asthma, to prevent the asthma. That was the basic aim of launching the GINA. And the 2026 updates, they have got a paradigm shift about the guidelines about GINA. Asthma is a serious global health problem. Approximately 300 million people around the world, they have asthma. It's becoming more prevalent in economically developing countries. It's a growing problem for patients, people, work, education, and family life. Even when children have asthma around the world, asthma can be fatal. Even slightest amount of asthma can prove to be fatal. It is fatal for young people also. 95% people who die from asthma, they are in middle income countries and low income groups. Now, some of the key points or facts about asthma that I'm going to share with all of you is asthma is a common chronic long-term disease. It can be serious. It can be treated effectively. All adults, adolescents, and children 6 to 11 years should receive the treatment that includes the inhalational corticosteroids. Asthma treatments should be carefully selected for each of the patients. It should be customized and personalized. A little about the definitions of asthma. Asthma is a chronic long-term respiratory disease with many variations. And there are many triggers to asthma, like allergens in the air at home, work, viral respiratory infections. Then there is exacerbation of asthma, also called as flaring up of asthma. It can be acute or subacute. Now, there are different methodologies for diagnosis of asthma and also for the assessment of asthma. Now, but we are more focused today for not about these two things, but we are focused on management of the asthma, the general principles. The long-term goals of asthma management are to prevent or control the symptoms and to prevent the exacerbations, airway damage, and the medication side effects. These are the goals of asthma treatment. The aim is to achieve the best possible outcomes for the patient. And then some patients with severe asthma, they show clinical remission also while taking biological therapy. Essential asthma medicines. The most foremost is the inhalation corticosteroids, especially the formoterol. They reduce the risk of asthma hospitalization and death. Early treatment is associated with better lung function. And patients who have severe exacerbation, if they don't take ICS, they are associated with poor lung function as compared to those who take this ICS. Now, every patient needs a reliever containing a rapid-acting bronchodilator to use whenever they have asthma symptoms. Reliever is ICS formoterol, ICS SABA, or simple short-acting beta agonist, but GINA has discouraged the use of SABA alone, that is for sure. So ICS formoterol is a preferred reliever because it reduces the risk of severe exacerbations compared with the treatment regimens with SABA reliever. That has been shown. Now, for the safety, GINA recommends the asthma should not be treated solely with SABA because there has been side effects of SABA. SABA produces lactic acidosis that makes the patient tachypneic. And once the patient is tachypneic, more acidosis, metabolic acidosis, and then we need more of SABA. So it becomes a kind of a vicious cycle. So it should not be, it is not recommended. Alone, SABA is not recommended in the GINA therapy for asthma patients. Now, what are the principles for selecting the medicines? To choose the best treatment for individual patients, we have to consider their age, the risk factors, the medical conditions, then the type of asthma they have, the personal goals for their asthma treatment, ability of the people to use different kind of tools like inhalers, etc. whether they can go for self-management of the therapy and things like that. So there are different principles for choosing the inhalers also. There is a cycle of assessment, adjustment, and review. The assessment consists of confirmation of diagnosis if necessary, then symptoms, control, and modifiable risk factors, comorbidities, inhaler techniques and adherence, then the treatment of modifiable risk factors and comorbidities, non-pharmacological strategies. Asthma medications includes ICS, education and skills training. Then there are symptoms, exacerbations, side effects, comorbidities, lung functions, all included in the review cycle. Now we have to manage the risk factors to reduce the exacerbations. How to go about managing these risk factors? There are certain steps which you should take care of. There is guided self-management, treatment regimens that includes inhalational corticosteroids, avoiding the tobacco smoke, management of confirmed food allergy. Suppose a food allergy is confirmed and you diagnose it, better manage it. Referral to specialist center or a specific physician or doctor. And school-based programs, they also help. How do they help? They include the asthma self-management skills that are taught to the students so that they learn the skills to self-manage the asthma. Then there are non-pharmacological strategies, advice about the smoking cessation, physical activity, investigation of the occupational asthma. You know there's a very important occupational asthma hazard. And then identify and manage the aspirin-induced asthma. That is also a very important kind of asthma that people suffer from. Then we have to educate the patients and we have to educate the caregivers about the asthma. How do we do that? We have to tell them why they need long-term treatment for asthma, how to use the inhaler correctly, how to use the written asthma action plan, how to monitor the symptoms, why they need regular medical review for asthma. Then we have to check and improve the adherence to the asthma. We have to show the empathy when asking patients about their treatment use, check their medication usage, check the prescription date, inhaler date, dispensing records, etc. Ask the patients about their attitudes and beliefs, especially related to asthma and the medications. Then check the adherence. If the FeNO is high despite the prescription of GINA step 3 or step 4 treatment. What are the steps I'm going to tell you now? Now we come to the main head point, that is choosing asthma medication for adults and adolescents. We have to start with treatment with certain important points like record evidence, document symptoms, assess the lung function, schedule a follow-up visit and things like that. Then we come to the treatment tracks. In the GINA, there are two kind of treatment tracks, GINA track 1 and then there is a GINA track 2. But the preferred track is the GINA track 1, which includes the inhalational corticosteroids. The one which contains the combination of ICS plus SABA, that is the alternative track. So you should be aware of these tracks. The preferred treatment in which there is low dose ICS formoterol, that is the preferred treatment, track 1. Alternative treatment contains a combination of ICS and SABA. What is the difference? If there are infrequent asthma symptoms or asthma symptoms less than 3 or 5 days per week with normal or mildly reduced lung function, then we have to go for low dose ICS and formoterol. And alternative track, we can go for ICS plus SABA in combination, separate inhalers also. Regular daily low dose ICS plus low dose ICS SABA as needed. Then if the asthma symptoms most of the days or night waking due to asthma once a week or more, then we have to go for low dose ICS formoterol, maintenance and reliever therapy. Maintenance and reliever therapy is known as MART, M-A-R-T. Regular daily dose ICS LABA plus low dose ICS SABA, that is the alternative treatment. If there is daily asthma symptoms or waking at night with asthma once a week or more with low lung functions, then we have to go for low dose, we have to go for medium dose. Before that we went for low dose ICS formoterol, now we'll increase a little dose. We'll go for the medium dose ICS formoterol maintenance and reliever therapy, that is MART. Then there is regular daily alternative treatment is regular daily medium dose ICS LABA plus low dose ICS SABA. LABA is long acting beta agonist and SABA is short acting beta agonist. If their initial asthma presentation is during an acute exacerbations, then treat the exacerbations including short course of oral corticosteroids if there is a severe problem. Now we come to the adjustment of the treatment. So I told you the step 1 and 2, step 3, step 4 and step 5 of the track 1. And then we have step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the track 2, that is alternative treatment. Now, the track 1 treatment options for adults and adolescents, steps 1 and 2. Take anti-inflammatory reliever therapy only as needed. In the step 3, take 1 inhalation morning and evening and 1 inhalation as needed. That is according to the maintenance and reliever therapy MART. Step 4, take 2 inhalations in the morning and evening and 1 inhalation as needed. Step 5, go for expert assessment, phenotyping and add-on treatment. That is severe asthma. Similarly, there is alternative options also and 5 steps. Now we come to the managing severe asthma in adults and adolescents. It includes high dose ICS LABA and also the inclusion of LAMA. What is that LAMA? LAMA is long acting muscarinic antagonist. That we have to add. And then we have to go for biologicals also. What are these biologicals? Anti-immunoglobulin E, that is subcutaneous omalizumab, or a biosimilar, that is omalizumab IgEC for patients aged more than 6 years with severe allergic asthma. Next biological, which is a new one, that is anti-interleukin 5 or anti-interleukin 5 receptor alpha for severe eosinophilic asthma. What are these options? Intravenous reslizumab for patients aged more than 18 years, subcutaneous mepolizumab for patients aged more than 6 years, subcutaneous benralizumab or tepemokimab for patients aged more than 12 years. This is the second option, that is anti-interleukin 5. Then we have another option, a new drug again, anti-interleukin 4 receptor alpha, that is subcutaneous dupilumab for patients more than 6 years with severe eosinophilic asthma with type 2 airway inflammation who need maintenance OCS. OCS is oral corticosteroids. Now, and the last treatment, that is also a new one, antithymic stromal lymphopoietin, that is subcutaneous tezepelumab for patients aged more than 12 years with severe asthma. Then we need maintenance of oral corticosteroids, should be only the last resort. That is actually not a very recommended step by GINA because they have a lot of side effects. They should be at the lowest possible dose. They should be at the last resort when the asthma is very, very severe. Because there are a lot of side effects, monitoring of the adrenal suppression and osteoporosis should be done regularly. Then we come to for more information. Then stepping down the treatment, that is the next step, and other treatment options for some adults and adolescents. When we identify the allergen, then we can go for specific allergen immunotherapy. Then we can add on with leukotriene receptor antagonists like zafirleucast and xylutone, etc. They are less effective than ICS, particularly for preventing exacerbations. Now we'll talk about the non-recommended treatments. Non-recommended treatments are the oral corticosteroids. They are the last resort. I told you GINA does not recommend them. And then GINA does not recommend oral salbutamol, oral theophylline, oral epinephrine, oral inhaled phenoterol because they have a lot of side effects. Regular use of short-acting beta agonists is not recommended. They increase the airway hyperresponsiveness, airway inflammation, and decrease the bronchodilator response. That is all about the adult and the adolescent treatment. A little word about the choosing the asthma medication for children 6 to 11 years. Again, the starting points are same: recording evidence, documenting the symptom, assessing the lung function, training the child, schedule the follow-up visit, training the parent also. Now we talk about the preferred treatment, especially when they are presenting symptoms, they are infrequent asthma symptoms. Then we go for need as per the requirement. There is a low dose ICS formoterol, as needed low dose ICS SABA or low dose ICS taken whenever SABA is taken. Secondly, asthma symptoms 3 to 4 days per week. low-dose ICS maintenance treatment, plus if there is a SABA needed or ICS-SABA combination. Next, asthma symptoms most of the days, waking due to asthma once a week or more, or low lung function. Then options, low-dose maintenance ICS plus SABA, or medium-dose maintenance ICS plus SABA, or low-dose ICS formoterol maintenance and reliever therapy, that is MART. Then the next type of symptoms, daily symptoms of waking at night once a week or more and low lung functions and recent exacerbation. Then the options are medium dose maintenance ICS LABA plus SABA. Long acting beta agonist is added now. Or low dose ICS formoterol, MART. MART is maintenance and reliever therapy. Then the next, initial asthmatic presentation is during an acute exacerbation. Then we have to treat medium dose ICS LABA plus SABA or low dose ICS formoterol MART. So now again the cycle includes assessment, adjustment and review for the children also. Then there are step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The step 1, preferred controller, anti-inflammatory reliever therapy only as needed. Step 2, daily low dose inhaled corticosteroids, that is ICS. Step 3, for the children I'm telling. Step 3, medium dose ICS or low dose ICS LABA or low dose ICS formoterol MART. Step 4, medium dose ICS LABA or low dose ICS formoterol MART or refer to the expert. In step 4, we are referring the children to the expert. In the adults, we were going to the expert treatment in the step 5. But in children, we are referring to the expert treatment. If not possible, not controlled, only in the step 4 only. And step 5, we have to go for phenotypic assessment, considering higher dose of ICS LABA, adding a long-acting muscarinic antagonist, LAMA also, and then IgE, anti-IL-4 alpha, IL-5, biologics, that also we add. Now let me tell you a brief outline of the steps. So step 1, if the child takes as needed low-dose ICS formoterol in combination with SABA, that's okay. Step 2, the child takes maintenance ICS containing treatment every day. And then even at low dose, it reduces the risk of severe exacerbations. In step 3 to 4, the child takes ICS or ICS LABA. LABA is introduced in step 4, 3 to 4. Then the exacerbations, they are less. They are more of relief. Recommended doses for ICS formoterol combinations, they are different from the adults and the adolescents. Then we come to step 5 options and severe asthma, how to maintain in children. That is a separate story which I am going to tell you now. Add-on treatment may be considered for children with severe asthma, and that includes tiotropium. That is, can be added to other recommended treatments. Biologicals, very important, that you should always remember. Options for children, anti-immunoglobulin E, subcutaneous omalizumab or biosimilar omalizumab IgEC for severe allergic. If the allergy is there, then omalizumab. Anti-interleukin 5 for eosinophilic asthma. If the eosinophilic asthma is there, then anti-interleukin 5, that is subcutaneous mepolizumab. Remember these names, similar, different, difficult names, but you have to remember. 3 types of biologicals, 1 for the allergic, 1 for the eosinophilic, and then we have for the severe asthma, anti-interleukin 4 receptor alpha, subcutaneous dupilumab for severe eosinophilic asthma or asthma with type 2 airway inflammation or OCS, that is oral corticosteroid dependent severe asthma. So other treatments, we can add on long-acting muscarinic antagonist, tiotropium I told you. Leukotriene antagonist, that can be added. It is not as effective as ICS, but it can be as an add-on treatment, especially if there is a severe asthma. Zafirleucast, then monteleucast has been associated with risk of a lot of mental effects also, side effects, and mental effects, health effects are adverse effects are also seen in some children. Then there is a specific allergen immunotherapy. If a child with asthma has ragweed allergy, that is a specific kind of allergy, ragweed allergy, then what we can add? Ragweed sublingual immunotherapy before and during ragweed season. Because you identify the allergen, so you have to treat it specially as per the identified allergen. Do not use sublingual immunotherapy if forced expiratory volume in 1 second, that is FEV1, is less than 80% predicted. So these are some GINA guidelines. Non-recommended treatments should be very, very clear in your mind. Maintenance oral corticosteroids should be only used as the last resort. Secondly, GINA does not recommend oral salbutamol, oral theophylline, oral epinephrine, oral inhaled phenotrol because of the high risk of adverse effects. Now, when we talk about the children, the adverse effects we have to take much more in consideration because they are not so much tolerable. Especially the children are very sensitive, so we have to be very, very careful about these. Regular use of SABA, I told you, it is not at all recommended. I told you the side effects of SABA. Lactic acidosis, tacapnic, and then it goes in a kind of a vicious cycle. So these are the problems. Then GINA guidelines are also there for the management of asthma in specific population contents like occupational asthma, pregnancy asthma, allergic rhinitis, obesity, GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. In the elderly, that's with a little difference, the guidelines, they are there. Then aspirin exacerbated respiratory disease, AERD, that is a different kind of asthma. Food allergy, especially when you identify the food, like I just now told you about ragweed allergy in children. Anaphylaxis, surgery in patients with asthma, COVID-19, other respiratory viral infections, asthma exacerbations. So these are the basics of the GINA guidelines. More, you have a lot of text available. I hope you understood the basic concepts about the GINA guidelines, and I was able to tell you about the basic framework of the GINA guidelines and what things you have to keep in mind, what should be avoided, and what should be taken care of. My laptop was not working properly, so I did the live with the mobile. I hope it was informative. If it was useful to you, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for more such informative videos. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.